Hey everyone, this is Jazz, and I want to talk to you today about what to do when you receive a new tarot or oracle deck. First of all, I want to dispel a couple of myths about getting your first tarot deck or first oracle deck. As you see, I have several here behind me, so I've been reading tarot cards since about the age of 18, I think. So that's many, many moons ago, more than I want to say. So the first deck that I got, I did receive from someone. So I know that there's part of the myth that says that you cannot buy an oracle deck or a tarot deck for yourself. Okay, that's BS. You can absolutely buy your own tarot deck or oracle deck. One of the reasons why I really want to dispel this myth is because I find in the 20 or so years, almost 30 years that I've been doing this, see, I said how long I've been reading cards for. I find that a lot of people are bringing a lot of fear into this. So either it's a fear that's been built up from a Christian background that, you know, if you do something wrong, the earth is going to open up and swallow you up and you're going to burn in hell for the rest of your life. Or there's all kinds of other fears that if you do something wrong, the bad spirits are going to come, or that's fear-based. So there's no space for that. Not in my practice, not in the way I teach, not in the way I do things. There's no fear. So what is the worst thing that's going to happen if you buy yourself your first deck of cards? Right? There's nothing wrong except that you're spending money, so you have to make sure that you have the money to actually buy that deck. There's nothing else that's going to happen. Like, no, but the earth is not going to swallow you. There's not a lightning strike that's going to strike you. There's nothing that's going to happen in your sleep. So buy yourself your first deck of cards. It's okay. Okay, so I'm giving you permission, and I'm telling you there's nothing for you to fear. Also, when you receive your deck of cards, there's all kinds of little routines and rituals that people do so that you have to sleep with it under your pillow. You have to do this, have to do that. So many rules. And to me, what are these rules about? They're, again, a lot of those are fear-based. Because what is going to happen if you don't do these things? Right? There's nothing. There's nothing. It's based on fear. And the way that I teach, the way that I operate is on unconditional love. So there are no conditions. The other thing that you need to know as well when you work with any type of divination, so the oracle decks, your crystals, your pendulums, the medium is you. It's you. It's your intuition. Everything else are tools that you use to interpret the messages that you receive from spirit. So the most important thing for you to do is to mind yourself. So do your meditations every day. Do your smudge. Do whatever you need to do. The salt baths, walks in nature, hugging trees, your forgiveness ceremonies, your releasing ceremonies, or calling in ceremonies. You are the channel. You are the vessel. You are the one who's important here. Everything else, they are tools for you to use. So they are an extension of yourself. They're not something super magical or imbued with whatever power that you receive like that. It's you. And it's activating something in your own psyche, in your own intuition. You are that door. You are that portal. That makes sense? So it's a little bit different than what some other people think about. But again, this is love-based. It's unconditional love. It's not fear-based. Okay? I get a lot of newbies when I go to workshops and shows, and they tell me, oh, it's the first time that they receive an oracle or a tarot card, and they're not quite sure how to receive this because there's a lot of fear about predicting the future. And that's one more thing that I want to dispel, another myth that I want to dispel. The ability to predict the future is very limited. My belief is, and I know that some people have another belief system, and that's perfect, but my belief system, the way that I teach, the way that I work, is that Each one of us has the free will to create our future with every moment and every breath. So yes, there are some things that are in destiny. So if you look at a world map, you might have like the big signposts that you know you're going to get there, or you know that you're going to have to cross that river, you know you're going to have to cross that bridge. But the way for you to get there, you choose that with every breath, with every decision, every yes or no, every maybes, every action, every inaction. You're in charge. Do not give your power away to anyone, to any tools. They don't know better than you. You are the channel. You are the authority in your life. Okay? So take a moment and breathe that in, because I know for some it might be like a big revelation to say that, yes, you are powerful. And the work that I do with my clients is to reclaim that power. That's a big gist of it. So what to do then when you decide that you want to adopt a new tool? Because for me, they're like a little bit like my babies. They're an extension of me, like I was saying. So first of all, how to choose that deck. So if I am in a store and I'm in usually the spiritual section, if I'm at like chapters or indigo, that's where you'll find me, in the spiritual section, and I might just take a look at the different cards. And I see, is there one that's calling to me? So what does that mean if there's one that's calling to me? First of all, is it something in the title? Is there something in the images that is calling to me? Is there a different energies? Because sometimes I want to work more with animal energies or shamanic energies or goddess energies. So is there something that's calling to me on that intellectual level? Then on the energetic level, is it calling to me as well? So I might pick up the book and then my Reiki hands are often activated and I can feel different tinglings. So some, when I pick them up, I have that knowing. There's maybe a tingle in my hand and there's that knowing in my heart that, yes, this is a one. This is a tool that's going to help me in this objective, in this goal that I have. So discovering something else about myself, discovering different ways of receiving messages, because you do have to have a goal. Because remember, you're the one who's in charge. So you're the one who sets the rules. So why do you want a tarot oracle card? That's kind of the first thing that you need to know. Why do you want this card? Is it for daily affirmations, or is it something a little bit more complex? So you need to know why you want this. Then you probably want to know, are you choosing an oracle card or a tarot card? And you want to know the difference between the two. So tarot cards are based on an old system, like 1,000 years old or so. And there's a major arcana, then there's a minor arcana. So there's all the 1 to 21, starting with the Fool, ending with the World. And it's a journey, it's a transpersonal journey with archetypes that you go through. So it's the major arcana are really good to telling you like those big milestones in your life, while the minor arcana, where you have the cups and the clubs and the swords and cups and the wands. I've just been meditating, so I'm not super grounded. My words are not coming very well right now. But you know what I mean? So there's the major arcana, then there's the minor arcana. So, and those are about your day-to-day decisions. And that's the way that it's, so you have the 4 suits plus a major arcana. And that's how you do your readings. Now, the oracle cards are not based on any structure. So you have some decks of oracle cards that might have 52 cards. Some decks might have 70 some cards. There's no rules about oracle cards. They're just images that spark your imagination, spark your intuition. They don't necessarily follow a journey either. They're messages. Okay, so that doesn't make them any less than, but it means that the structure is not the same. You can still read them and do like a tarot spread with oracle cards, but the meanings are a lot different. So you kind of need to know, do you want the structure of the tarot, or do you want more of a free flow type of information like the oracle gives you? They're both good. They're just a little bit different. And the the history of the decks are also quite different, because when it's steeped, the tarot is steeped in a few thousand years of following that same structure, and there's a lot of symbolism that's the same in all the decks, except some of the most recent ones. For instance, the Doreen Virtue Angel ones is totally different. Because Doreen being Doreen, I know a lot of people like them. I don't mesh with her teachings very well. She doesn't want any of the dark stuff in her tarot, so she's removed everything like the swords. So people are afraid of swords, so I'm not using swords anymore. I'm going to use unicorns. That's fine, but guess what? Life is not all rainbows and unicorns and lollipops all the time. There's some shitty stuff that happens in life. And that's normal, because we're human. Right now, in a body, we're human. We're going through life, and there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be shitty parts, and there's going to be beautiful parts. And the tarot reflects all of the gamut of emotions of life, all the good stuff and all the bad stuff. And you can't be afraid of that. Even the death card, you can't be afraid of that one. Again, let's not be fear-based. Let's be love-based. And what is good about death? It's the end of a cycle. It's the releasing of the ego. It's the possibility for renewal. Just like after winter, there's spring. Just like after the acorn dies in the earth, there's a new tree that buds. There's always something new. It's a cycle of life. And if you're love-based and if you're earth-based, you know that life is in a cycle. So you can't be afraid of the ups and downs of life. You just get your strength from reading the tarot and know what your next step is to kind of move on with the life. So all those fluffy tarot that is, oh, we won't do anything negative, I don't recommend those, because they don't reflect real life. They reflect the love and light type of woo-woo, everybody's white and everybody's light all the time. And I find personally that when a spiritual workers were like that, like, oh, everything is beautiful and light and love all the time, there's a huge shadow there that needs to be discovered. And people say, oh no, I'm not an angry person. I'm just going to shower love on that one. Like, fuck off. That is so passive aggressive, right? And we don't admit to that shadow. That's a whole other story, but that's kind of where I'm coming from with being love-based and being earth-based rather than being the fluffy, new agey stuff, okay? That's not for me. It kind of gets to me. So now you know a little bit of the difference. Hey, Stephanie. Yes, the red, back to red. Yesterday I spent the afternoon at Dandu's, so I'm back to red. So now you know the difference between the tarot deck and the oracle deck. And you know that you can buy your own decks, because it's perfectly fine. It's out of love. You do what feels good for you, what you feel attracted to, and you go according to your budget. There are no rules, okay? So buy what feels good for you. That's first rule. So then I just received this one through the mail, because I live in a small village and I don't want to drive an hour or two to go to a big town and spend a couple of hours in a shop. I like to do that, but I don't do that very often. So once in a while I see one online that kind of speaks to me, and I just purchase it online. So I got this one in the mail. Is Colette Baron Reid's Goddess Power Oracle. I know there's some good reviews about this one. There's some bad reviews about this one, but I'm kind of not listening to the reviews, because it's what speaks to my soul. And you know that I work a lot with goddesses. And to me, this is a way to get to learn a different facet of the goddesses and a different interpretation of the goddesses as well. And perhaps be introduced to some goddesses that I don't know yet. So I received it. I removed the plastic around it. This one has that jacket on top. So I'm just removing this one. And then you get to open up the box. It's a really beautiful box. It says the magical, the mystical, the numinous quality of life is a domain of the fierce and creative feminine aspect of the universe. So that's kind of the dedication that's inside. Flip this up. There's the booklet. Flip it up again. And there are the cards. This one stinks. Honestly, it stinks. I think I saw it's printed in China. I don't know what kind of paper, what kind of ink that they use, but it kind of stinks. So that's kind of my first impression. It's like, ugh, it stinks. But the cards are gorgeous. So this is the first thing that I do when I receive cards. I look at them. So use all your senses. So your sense of sight, your sense of smell, sense of touch. They're kind of really, really soft. They're kind of big, I find, for my hands. So like for shuffling, they're just at the limit. I wouldn't want them any bigger than that. Kind of a large. I like the triple moon and the tree of life and kind of a Celtic knot that's in the middle. I don't know if you can kind of see it in this light, right? And the image, again, here's Persephone right here, which is one of the goddesses that I am working with a lot, is Persephone. So the person, the artist for this deck took pictures of real people and then photoshopped them to create the different images. So when you receive or when you purchase your own tarot deck, any deck, even if it's your 20th or 30th one, again, you look at them with all of your senses. And then what I like to do, I don't know if you can kind of see here, I just kind of spread them out. And I like to look at all of them. Okay, let me know if you can hear me or if the sound isn't too good, because I know I'm standing a little bit further away from my computer so that you can see. So you just spread all the cards out. And then what I like to do, because right now I have not dedicated or blessed these cards yet, so they're just paper. They're not connected to me in any sense. I have not made that connection. This is just paper, just paper. Okay. So you need to know that as well. So when you purchase something, it might still have a little bit of the energy because the author put their heart and soul in that creation, but it still is just paper. Nothing bad can happen to you. It's like picking up any other book, right? But now starts that process of blessing, and where I make a connection with my psyche to these cards. And one thing that I like to think about with these cards is that each of them is like a door to the psyche. Each of them is like a door to a messages. So when I bless and dedicate my tarot decks, it's like I'm giving myself the key to reach that door, to open it, and to know what's behind it. Does that make sense? So that's why you saw that I got the book and I put it away. I don't go by the book. The book is not important. The book is there if you need just a little bit of background information, but what's really important, again, is you, because you are the channel. You are the oracle. You are the one doing the interpretation, not the book. When you base your readings so much on the books, you're giving your power away to something else or to someone else to know what the messages are, instead of really looking within and say, well, what does this card mean to me? What colors am I seeing? What symbols am I seeing? How is it speaking to my soul? And that's what's important, is to get to know how it speaks to your soul, not what's in the book. Okay? What's in the book might be like 90% right of the time, but it's not the whole truth, because it's not your truth. And you really have to work on discovering what your truth is. All right? That's another little tidbit of information for you about how I work. So you see here I have the sage. I'm kind of at the end of this big bundle, but I'm going to light, and I have my white candle right here. So just lighting up the sage with the candle and with gratitude. So first of all, blessing myself and blessing my intuition channels and my third eye. And I'm asking for Goddess and Spirit and Universe to purify my thoughts, purify my emotions, purify all my senses, what I see, what I hear, so that I can make that connection with this oracle deck, so that this deck becomes a tool, an extension of my own intuition, so that when I receive messages with them, whether they're messages for myself or messages for someone else, that they do speak the truth, and that the words and the messages come to me easily and effortlessly in a way that is most helpful for my soul and most helpful for those who need to hear the messages. So, kind of to backtrack a little bit as I walk both worlds, because the intuition just did get open, but I'm coming back into a bit of my teaching role here. And this prayer of dedication that I just said like that in my own words, I invite you to find such prayer in your own words. So when you smudge yourself and then we're going to smudge the cards, what's important is for you to hold that intention. So again, most books are going to have a prayer of dedication, but what is most important is the prayer of dedication that you can say for yourself in your own words. It's just, it reminds me a little bit like when I was growing up, and I grew up Catholic, and my grandparents, being from that era, they would recite the rosary every night. So when I would sleep over at my grandparents' place, I would hear them in bed recite the rosary together. And in a way, it's very beautiful. But even in my childhood mind, because I was maybe 7 years old at the time, when I would hear them say, Amen, it's like, yes, you are saying the prayer, but there's no heart. It's just like a check mark. You know, I said it, I did it. Same thing if you're just saying the prayer that's in the booklet that comes to you, it's just words. You need to be able to involve your senses, involve your heart, involve your soul, and speak the words that come to you. Then it has meaning. Then it has power, much more than anything that you read in the books. So use your own words when you find your own prayer of dedication. So now you notice that I am smudging all the cards with, again, the intention of clarifying that door and receiving the key and making the connection from my own psyche to these doors that are going to help me find more illumination, more insight, more wisdom into the different facets of myself, messages for myself, and messages for my clients. And again, there are no rules to, you know, how long are you going to smudge? Is it 30 seconds? Is it 30 minutes? There are no rules. Just follow that intuition, that inner nudge, the knowledge that you already have within yourself. So to me, this feels complete at this time. So now I'm just going to put that smudge back in this dish. And again, I want to show you just behind the scenes what I use. It's a glass dish that I have, and there's some earth from the garden that you can't see because it's black, but it's just earth from the garden so that I can kind of stamp out the sage with. I do not use abalone shell for smudging. I know that's a new age thing to do, but it's not a traditional thing to do. To use the abalone shell is traditional only in the new age sector, but it's not ancestrally traditional to use the abalone shell for smudging processes. And also, you know, the beautiful lining inside the abalone shell that is shimmering. Well, if that is heated, it can release toxins in your environment. And when you're smudging, you're trying to bless and release everything. So you don't want to release toxins. So I stay away from that and use, sometimes it's just like a clay pot, or in this time it has to be fireproof, so like a thick glass with earth, just earth in it. Keep it simple. It doesn't have, you don't have to have the big, you know, to spend your money on all the things that the new age shops tell you to spend money on. Keep things simple. Okay, so I've blessed myself, opened up my own channels to intuition. Then I smudged the deck, and I'm going to leave the cards like this for a while, and then I'm going to meditate. It might take me a week, it might take me a month, but once in a while I am going to pick up a card. And here's one card, it's Amy for adaptability. So what I need to do, because I need to make a connection from my consciousness to this door of consciousness and higher messages, just meditate with this one and look at the colors and look at the images. And then I'm going to read up on this goddess because I do not know her. And then what messages does she have for me? What is she opening up within myself? And I'm going to do that with every card. And I don't know how many cards there are, 43. I'm just looking because 49, does it say? 50, 51, 2. So there are 52 cards in this one. So it might take me 52 days to go through all of them. Sometimes I might do maybe 1 or 2 or 3 per day, but you need to meditate with each card and knowing what symbology, what messages come up for you, what resonates with you, what the colors are evoking in you, what symbols are you finding in there, so that you can have that two-way conversation with the cards. So when you get a card, it's not just, oh, that's a pretty card and what is a book saying, but it's like a whole body, whole intuition kind of experience when you pick a card up. So that means that when I do a reading, and if you follow this process, when you do a reading, it's a lot more intuitive. It's a lot more soulful than following the book. Does that make sense? So that's kind of my behind the scenes at how I work and what I do with a tarot or oracle card. If you have any questions, pop them in the comment and I'll come and answer your questions as soon as I can. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that you feel the need now to focus on your own intuitive skills and your own intuition. Reclaim your power and know that this power of divining and listening to the messages, that power is within you, and don't give that power away from anyone else. That doesn't mean that you will never go see anyone else for messages, because sometimes we're so much in our own shitstorm, we cannot see the higher messages. So it's good to go see someone else every once in a while. But for most of the time, for most days, trust yourself, because you are beautiful, you are able, you have the skills to open up your own intuition and receive messages from the goddess. You are worthy of this. And if you want any help in opening up your channels, I can certainly help you with that. I have a class that's coming up and it's called Intuition Development. And we're going to talk about all of these things. I also have 3 spots open for private mentorship. So if that interests you, it's a 6-month program. If it interests you to remove the blocks to fear and to reclaim your own power, message me and we can get you started on that 6-month program. All right. I'm sending you love, and I hope that your day continues with a lot of joy and wisdom, and that you feel the guidance that the goddess has for you in this moment with your very own breath. I love you all. See you soon. Bye for now. Hey, Katie, you're very welcome.